The Emperor and the Saint, a crown of holiness. In the vast tapestry of medieval Europe, where crowns were forged with blood and kingdoms rose and fell like the tides, few rulers walked the razor's edge of power and sanctity as gracefully as Henry II. Crowned Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, he was more than a sovereign. He was a man devoted to God, a warrior of justice, and a beacon of faith in a turbulent age. Born into a noble lineage destined for greatness, Henry's life was a testament to the possibility that true power lies not only in conquest and command, but in humility, mercy, and unwavering devotion. He ruled with a hand both firm and gentle, sought to reform the church from within, and lived by a code that bound the crown to the cross. This is the story of a man who wore a crown and a saint's halo, whose legacy bridged the divine and the earthly, inspiring generations beyond his own. Join us now on this journey through the life, struggles, miracles, and triumphs of Saint Henry II, Emperor, a true warrior of faith. Chapter 1. The Making of a Warrior Prince. Born on a spring day, May 6, 973, deep within the rolling hills of Bavaria, Henry came into a world where noble blood ran thick with ambition, but also where faith wove itself tightly into the fabric of everyday life. His family was powerful, descendants of kings and warriors, but from the very start, young Henry was taught that power alone was not enough. It was to be tempered by mercy, humility, and a profound devotion to God. His father, Henry the Quarrelsome, was a fierce and passionate man, known for his valor in battle and his unyielding spirit. Yet, the elder Henry's temper was a lesson in what the young prince must control within himself. His mother, Gisela of Burgundy, was a gentle but strong woman, whose prayers and quiet wisdom shaped Henry's early days. From her, he learned that faith was not a distant idea, but a living force, a guiding flame in times of both peace and war. As a child, Henry was not merely dressed in fine robes and taught the ways of courtly life. Instead, he was trained to wield the lance and sword, to ride swiftly through forests, and to understand the harsh realities of the world he was born into. But alongside these lessons of the warrior, Henry was taught another kind of strength: the courage to forgive, the discipline to listen, and the call to protect those who could not protect themselves. His tutors emphasized the sacred trust placed upon kings and princes, that their power was not for personal glory, but a divine responsibility to rule with justice. A crown is heavy, they would say, because it carries the weight of the souls who follow. The young prince was a quick learner. His sharp mind absorbed not only the strategies of battle, but also the teachings of the church. He spent hours in prayer and study, seeking guidance from the scriptures and the saints. Henry grew to understand that the sword he bore was not just a weapon, but a symbol of defense for the weak, of justice for the oppressed, and of faith against the darkness of the world. When he was barely a man, the Holy Roman Empire was a land fragmented by feuding nobles and foreign threats. The throne was coveted by many, and the empire's strength was tested by betrayal and war. But Henry's resolve never faltered. He believed deeply that a ruler's true power came not from the might of armies, but from the righteousness of his heart. Even in his youth, Henry's reputation began to spread beyond his native Bavaria. He was known as a fearless warrior, yet also a man of deep prayer and charity. Nobles and peasants alike whispered tales of his kindness and justice, his readiness to defend the church, and his unshakable belief that rulers should be servants of God's will. Yet the path ahead was fraught with peril. Rival princes schemed in dark halls, ready to seize power by any means. The delicate dance of alliances and betrayals required Henry to be as cunning as he was brave. But through it all, he held fast to the principle that his authority was a sacred charge, not a prize to be stolen or a tool to be abused. By the time Henry reached manhood, the boy who had once learned to ride and fight had transformed into a leader whose soul burned with a fire both fierce and pure. He was ready, not only to claim a throne, but to carry a cross. His journey toward becoming emperor would be a test of every lesson he had learned, of courage, mercy, faith, and sacrifice. Chapter 2. The Crown and the Cross. The moment Henry II ascended to the throne was not merely a rise to power. It was the beginning of a sacred mission. Crowned King of Germany in 1002 and later crowned Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire by the Pope in 1014, Henry wore the crown with a solemn awareness that it was both a symbol of worldly authority and a heavy burden of divine responsibility. From the start, Henry's reign was marked by a powerful blend of warrior strength and deep spiritual conviction. He understood that to lead was to serve, and to serve, he needed to walk humbly alongside his people and his God. Unlike many rulers who sought glory and conquest alone, Henry sought to unite his empire not just by force, but through justice and faith. His vision was clear. The empire was to be a reflection of God's kingdom on earth. This was a time when the church and the state were often at odds, but Henry strove to be a bridge between them. He was a fierce defender of the church's rights and privileges, yet he also demanded reform and discipline within its ranks. His commitment to reform was revolutionary. He saw corruption and decay threatening the very soul of Christendom and vowed to renew it. One of Henry's most defining moments came during the delicate balance of power between emperor and pope. The two authorities often clashed, but Henry believed that true power was rooted in harmony between the sacred and the secular. He worked tirelessly to support the church, founding monasteries, protecting bishops, and encouraging the moral renewal of clergy. Yet Henry was no mere puppet of the church. He wielded his imperial power with wisdom and strength, defending his empire against external threats and internal rebellion. His leadership was marked by strategic brilliance on the battlefield and a diplomatic skill that forged alliances through marriages and treaties. The crown he wore was adorned with gold and jewels, but the true weight was in the invisible cross that rested upon his shoulders, a constant reminder of his vow to rule justly and piously. Henry's reign was also marked by acts of mercy. He was known to forgive his enemies and to show kindness to the poor and the sick. Stories spread of the emperor who would kneel beside his subjects in prayer, who personally cared for those in need, and who sought to live the gospel in every decision. His miracles, both during his life and after his death, spoke of a man truly touched by God's grace. Tales of healings, divine interventions, and his peaceful death reinforced his reputation as a saintly ruler, one whose legacy would endure beyond his mortal reign. Henry II's story is one of a rare union, a warrior who bore a sword in battle, and a saint who carried a cross in his heart. His life challenges us to remember that true leadership demands not only strength but humility, not only power but love. Chapter 3. The Emperor's Mercy and Miracles. Henry II's reign was not only defined by battles won or treaties forged, but by the merciful heart that beat beneath his imperial armor. Known as a ruler of compassion, Henry understood that true power was measured not by conquest alone, but by the grace and mercy shown to his people. Throughout his empire, stories flourished of the emperor who walked among his subjects with humility and kindness. He visited the sick in their beds, offered aid to the poor, and gave generously to the church's charitable works. His justice was tempered by mercy, his laws crafted to protect the vulnerable and uphold the dignity of all. One of the most famed miracles attributed to Henry was the healing of a crippled boy. It is said that during a journey through his lands, Henry stopped to pray by the boy's bedside. With a gentle touch and a prayer from the heart, the emperor's blessing restored the child's ability to walk. Word of this miracle spread quickly, deepening the reverence for the ruler who was also a servant of God. Henry's deep faith guided every step of his life. He founded monasteries and supported religious communities, believing that spiritual renewal was key to the empire's strength. The Vallambrosian monks, though founded later by Saint John Gualberto, thrived in the environment of reform and piety that Henry fostered, as did many other monastic orders seeking purity and devotion. His dedication to the church was more than politics. It was personal. Henry sought to model his own life on the example of Christ, striving to bring peace and justice in a time often shadowed by violence and strife. As the years passed, Henry's reputation as a miracle-working emperor grew. Many testified to his prayers answering the cries of the desperate, his interventions turning aside plagues and disasters, and his peaceful presence calming restless hearts. Even at his death in 1024, Henry's passing was marked by divine signs, as those around him witnessed a serene light filling his chamber and a deep peace that seemed to descend upon the empire itself. Henry II's mercy and miracles left an indelible mark on history. His life stands as a testament to the power of faith lived in action, where an emperor is also a humble servant, and where grace reigns supreme. Chapter 4. The Legacy of a Saintly Sovereign. The life of Henry II was a shining beacon in a world often shadowed by conflict and ambition. When he passed away in 1024, he left behind more than an empire. He left a legacy, a testament to what it means to lead with faith, courage, and humility. Henry was canonized a saint by Pope Eugene III in 1146, becoming the first Holy Roman Emperor to be declared saint. His tomb in Bamberg Cathedral became a place of pilgrimage, where countless faithful came seeking healing and hope, drawn by the memory of a ruler who had bridged the divine and the earthly with unwavering devotion. His reforms reshaped the Church and the empire alike. By promoting discipline among clergy and fostering the growth of monasteries, Henry set a foundation for spiritual renewal that echoed for centuries. His insistence that rulers serve God first inspired generations of kings and emperors to remember that earthly power is fleeting, but holiness is eternal. Henry's life reminds us that true leadership is not about power for its own sake, but about service, sacrifice, and love. He faced battles not only on the field, but within his soul, struggles to balance justice and mercy, authority and humility, ambition and faith. Today, Saint Henry II stands as a model of a ruler who ruled with a crown and carried a cross, a man whose story invites us to reflect on the deeper meaning of leadership and the call to live with integrity. As we close this chapter on the life of Saint Henry II, we remember a sovereign whose greatness was measured not in conquest, but in grace. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the remarkable life of Saint Henry II, Emperor. We hope his story of courage, faith, and mercy has inspired you as much as it has inspired us. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider subscribing and sharing our videos. Your support helps us bring more stories of saints and heroes to light, reminding us all that even in the darkest times, the light of faith can shine bright. Until next time, may you walk with courage and grace in your own journey. God bless.